I just want to go through Central Park and watch folks passing by. Spend the whole day watching people. I miss that. If you're walking down the right path, and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you'll make progress. The future rewards those who press on. I don't have time to feel sorry for myself. I don't have time to complain. I'm going to press on. Understand, our police officers put their lives on the line for us every single day. They've got a tough job to do to maintain public safety and hold accountable those who break the law. Money is not the only answer, but it makes a difference. There is not a liberal America and a conservative America, there is the United States of America. There is not a Black America and a white America, and Latino America, and Asian America, there's the United States of America. If the people cannot trust their government to do the job for which it exists, to protect them and to promote their common welfare, all else is lost. We, the people, recognize that we have responsibilities as well as rights, that our destinies are bound together, that a freedom which only asks what's in it for me, a freedom without a commitment to others, a freedom without love or charity or duty or patriotism, is unworthy of our founding ideals, and those who died in their defense. My fellow Americans, we are and always will be a nation of immigrants. We were strangers once, too. Focusing your life solely on making a buck shows a certain poverty of ambition. It asks too little of yourself. Because it's only when you hitch your wagon to something larger than yourself that you realize your true potential. I've got a pen, and I've got a phone, and I can use that pen to sign executive orders and take executive actions and administrative actions that move the ball forward. I believe marriage is between a man and a woman. I am not in favor of gay marriage. But when you start playing around with constitutions just to prohibit somebody who cares about another person, it just seems to me that's not what America's about. Usually, our constitutions expand liberties, they don't contract them. We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well-funded. In a world of complex threats, our security and leadership depends on all elements of our power, including strong and principled diplomacy. We want everybody to act like adults, quit playing games, realize that it's not just my way or the highway. We prove that we are still a people capable of doing big things and tackling our biggest challenges. It was the labor movement that helped secure so much of what we take for granted today. The 40-hour workweek, the minimum wage, family leave, health insurance, Social Security, Medicare, retirement plans. The cornerstones of the middle-class security all bear the union label. It's not surprising, then, they get bitter, they cling to guns or religion or antipathy to people who aren't like them or anti-immigrant sentiment or anti-trade sentiment as a way to explain their frustrations. In the end, that's what this election is about. Do we participate in a politics of cynicism or a politics of hope? It's time to fundamentally change the way that we do business in Washington. To help build a new foundation for the 21st century, we need to reform our government so that it is more efficient, more transparent, and more creative. That will demand new thinking and a new sense of responsibility for every dollar that is spent. I'm a warrior for the middle class. I think, when you spread the wealth around, it's good for everybody. A good compromise, a good piece of legislation, is like a good sentence, or a good piece of music. Everybody can recognize it. They say, huh. It works. It makes sense. The thing about hip-hop today is it's smart, it's insightful. The way they can communicate a complex message in a very short space is remarkable. I've got 2 daughters, 9 years old and 6 years old. I am going to teach them first of all about values and morals. But if they make a mistake, I don't want them punished with a baby. We need to internalize this idea of excellence. Not many folks spend a lot of time trying to be excellent. Now, as a nation, we don't promise equal outcomes, but we were founded on the idea everybody should have an equal opportunity to succeed. No matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, you can make it. That's an essential promise of America. Where you start should not determine where you end up. We need to steer clear of this poverty of ambition, where people want to drive fancy cars, and wear nice clothes, and live in nice apartments, but don't want to work hard to accomplish these things. Everyone should try to realize their full potential. We worship an awesome God in the blue states, and we don't like federal agents poking around our libraries in the red states. We coach Little League in the blue states, and have gay friends in the red states. If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you've got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. I'm the President of the United States. I'm not the Emperor of the United States. We need to reject any politics that targets people because of race or religion. This isn't a matter of political correctness. It's a matter of understanding what makes us strong. The world respects us not just for our arsenal, it respects us for our diversity, and our openness and the way we respect every faith. It took a lot of blood, sweat and tears to get to where we are today, but we have just begun. Today we begin in earnest the work of making sure that the world we leave our children is just a little bit better than the one we inhabit today. That's the good thing about being president, I can do whatever I want. We all knew this. We all knew that it would take more time than any of us want to dig ourselves out of this hole created by this economic crisis. Take off your bedroom slippers. Put on your marching shoes, he said, his voice rising as applause and cheers mounted. Shake it off. Stop complaining. Stop grumbling. Stop crying. We are going to press on. We have work to do. It's not enough to train today's workforce. We also have to prepare tomorrow's workforce by guaranteeing every child access to a world-class education. We have real enemies in the world. These enemies must be found. They must be pursued and they must be defeated. My job is not to represent Washington to you, but to represent you to Washington. Issues are never simple. One thing I'm proud of is that, very rarely will you hear me simplify the issues. To avoid being mistaken for a sellout, I chose my friends carefully. The more politically active black students. The foreign students. The Chicanos. The Marxist professors and structural feminists and punk rock performance poets. Our higher education system is one of the things that makes America exceptional. There's no place else that has the assets we do when it comes to higher education. People from all over the world aspire to come here and study here. And that is a good thing. I miss Saturday morning, rolling out of bed, not shaving, getting into my car with my girls, driving to the supermarket, squeezing the fruit, getting my car washed, taking walks. We can't drive our SUVs and eat as much as we want and keep our homes on 72 degrees at all times. And then just expect that other countries are going to say okay. That's not leadership. That's not going to happen. The internet didn't get invented on its own. Government research created the internet so that all the companies could make money off the internet. The point is that when we succeed because of our individual initiative, but also because we do things together. Cutting the deficit by gutting our investments in innovation and education is like lightening an overloaded airplane by removing its engine. It may make you feel like you're flying high at first, but it won't take long before you feel the impact. I see Americans of every party, every background, every faith who believe that we are stronger together, black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, young, old, gay, straight, men, women, folks with disabilities, all pledging allegiance under the same proud flag to this big, bold country that we love. That's what I see. That's the America I know. We have real enemies in the world. These enemies must be found. They must be pursued and they must be defeated. We can't drive our SUVs and eat as much as we want and keep our homes on 72 degrees at all times. And then just expect that other countries are going to say okay. That's not leadership. That's not going to happen. Let us remember, we are all part of one American family. We are united in common values, and that includes belief in equality under the law, basic respect for public order, and the right of peaceful protest. As a nuclear power, as the only nuclear power to have used a nuclear weapon, the United States has a moral responsibility to act. I know that campaigns can seem small, and even silly. Trivial things become big distractions. Serious issues become sound bites. And the truth gets buried under an avalanche of money and advertising. If you're sick of hearing me approve this message, believe me, so am I. My parents shared not only an improbable love, they shared an abiding faith in the possibilities of this nation. They would give me an African name, Barack, or Blessed, believing that in a tolerant America your name is no barrier to success. We need somebody who's got the heart, the empathy, to recognize what it's like to be a young teenage mom, the empathy to understand what it's like to be poor or African American or gay or disabled or old, and that's the criterion by which I'll be selecting my judges. Building new roads and bridges creates jobs. Growing our exports creates jobs. Reforming our outdated tax system and our broken immigration system creates jobs. Where the stakes are the highest, in the war on terror, we cannot possibly succeed without extraordinary international cooperation. Effective international police actions require the highest degree of intelligence sharing, planning and collaborative enforcement. No party has a monopoly on wisdom. No democracy works without compromise. But when Governor Romney and his allies in Congress tell us we can somehow lower our deficit by spending trillions more on new tax breaks for the wealthy, well, you do the math. I refuse to go along with that. And as long as I'm president, I never will. We all remember Abraham Lincoln as the leader who saved our Union. Founder of the Republican Party. I believe in American exceptionalism, just as I suspect that the Brits believe in British exceptionalism and the Greeks believe in Greek exceptionalism. I can say with confidence there has never been a man or a woman, not me, not Bill, nobody, more qualified than Hillary Clinton to serve as President of the United States of America. So long as I'm Commander-in-Chief, we will sustain the strongest military the world has ever known. When you take off the uniform, we will serve you as well as you've served us, because no one who fights for this country should have to fight for a job, or a roof over their head, or the care that they need when they come home. The United States has been enriched by Muslim Americans. Many other Americans have Muslims in their families or have lived in a Muslim-majority country, I know, because I am one of them. I cannot swallow whole the view of Lincoln as the great emancipator. Change will not come if we wait for some other person, or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. I found this national debt, doubled, wrapped in a big bow waiting for me as I stepped into the Oval Office. I don't oppose all wars. What I am opposed to is a dumb war. What I am opposed to is a rash war. I know my country has not perfected itself. At times, we've struggled to keep the promise of liberty and equality for all of our people. We've made our share of mistakes, and there are times when our actions around the world have not lived up to our best intentions. America and Islam are not exclusive, and need not be in competition. Instead, they overlap, and share common principles of justice and progress, tolerance and the dignity of all human beings. The fact that my 15 minutes of fame has extended a little longer than 15 minutes is somewhat surprising to me, and completely baffling to my wife. We also can try to take over and rebuild every country that falls into crisis. That's not leadership, that's a recipe for quagmire, spilling American blood and treasure that ultimately weakens us. It's the lesson of Vietnam, of Iraq, and we should have learned it by now. A mother deserves a day off to care for a sick child, or sick parent without running into hardship, and you know what? A father does, too. It's time to do away with workplace policies that belong in a Mad Men episode. I think one of the great things about the United States has been our ability to maintain a distinction between our military and domestic law enforcement. Tonight, we gather to affirm the greatness of our nation, not because of the height of our skyscrapers, or the power of our military, or the size of our economy. Our pride is based on a very simple premise, summed up in a declaration made over 200 years ago. After a century of trying, we declared that healthcare in America is not a privilege for a few, it is a right for everybody. After decades of talk, we finally began to wean ourselves off foreign oil. We doubled our production of clean energy. We brought more of our troops home to their families, and we delivered justice to Osama bin Laden. The last thing you want to do is raise taxes in the middle of the recession, because that would just suck up and take more demand out of the economy, and put businesses in a further hole. What I believe unites the people of this nation, regardless of race or region or party, young or old, rich or poor, is the simple, profound belief in opportunity for all, the notion that if you work hard and take responsibility, you can get ahead. I don't care whether you're driving a hybrid or an SUV. If you're headed for a cliff, you have to change direction. That's what the American people called for in November, and that's what we intend to deliver. We know that the nation that goes all in on innovation today will own the global economy tomorrow. This is an edge America cannot surrender. It's one of the few regrets of my presidency, that the rancor and suspicion between the parties has gotten worse instead of better. There's no doubt a president with the gifts of Lincoln or Roosevelt might have better bridged the divide, and I guarantee I'll keep trying to be better so long as I hold this office. I think same-sex couples should be able to get married. I don't think marriage is a civil right, but I think that being able to transfer property is a civil right. If you're looking for the safe choice, you shouldn't be supporting a black guy named Barack Obama to be the next leader of the free world. I think it is important for Europe to understand that even though I am president and George Bush is not president, Al-Qaeda is still a threat.